Damas y caballeros, bienvenido to Shoot the Defense. The reason why I've done this introduction in Spanish is because we're fourth in Chile. Can you believe it? Fourth in the charts in Chile. What the fuck is happening? I don't know, Rod. It's because of you.
No comprende.
It was a bit weird when I checked on Charterborn and I saw that we're fourth in Chile, first in the Ukraine, 15th in Finland. And I thought we were like 29th in India. So that's not bad, to be honest. India's a massive, massive nation. So there you go.
Must be something to do with this lockdown. People just podcasting, aren't they? 'Cause I've seen to get on the new podcast since of what else is there to do?
Well,
So you're on YouTube, it sends you somewhere else, and next minute you've been on it 3 or 4 hours going through loads of stuff.
Well, you've totally shit on our parade. Thank you very much. You could have said that we've got such a quality product that everyone around the world is listening to it. Well,
and not obviously, and we've been going a long time, so people, the content's getting better, the personnel is getting better, as you can see with Steve and Theo's one today. So yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Steve, would you like to add to that? Welcome to the show, mate.
No, and thank you, and thanks for having me again, and congratulations for all your hard work and, like you say, your content. It's a pleasure every time to come on and just share some football, chat with you, little bit of intel that we share, and obviously most of the thoughts are our own, and we back what we believe, and we watch football of all levels. We love the game, and it's great that people listen, and hope long may it continue.
Thank you very much, mate. Appreciate it. See, that was much better than yours, Rod. It's locked down. That's why people are listening. The whole world is locked down. So
I'm just modest. That's all I'm doing.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. I'll give you that. Right. We have a debutant. He's got his Shoot the Defense cap. It's Theo, also known as T.Dot on Twitter. How you doing, Theo? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm not bad. Obviously, happy to be on tonight's episode. So yeah, man, looking forward to it, and some shocks. I told you there's going to be some shocks in the FA Cup. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it tonight.
Great stuff. Well, look, before we talk about the football, tell us a little bit about yourself. I'm sounding like Cilla Black at the moment, but
yeah. So obviously, I do a lot of music. That's obviously the first passion alongside football, and then yeah, man, just football, music, family life, just enjoying lockdown with them as much as possible. So yeah, just the usual sort of dad life, music life, and football.
Excellent. So do you know 90 as well? Because
yeah, I know 90. He's a good guy. And yeah, he's just looks after his family. Does the right thing, and yeah, you obviously you see him on Twitter and doing his thing as well. So yeah.
Yes. He called me about 3 times on Sunday. I was doing the homeschooling with my daughter, because I give her homework on the weekend as well. I don't give a shit. She's to learn. So he was calling me 3 or 4 times. I'm like, shit, what's happening? Because I want to do a KV. I'm like, okay, well, I'll send you some questions over, and then we'll take it from there. So yeah, that's not. He's a diamond though. But hey. Right, let's talk about the FA Cup then. FA Cup third round, and Liverpool beat Aston Villa 3-1. Steve has just informed me at the top of the show before we started recording that Liverpool been drawn against Man United. I didn't even know. But Liverpool beat Aston Villa, what was it, 3-4-1? 4-1, wasn't it? 3-1, 4-1. It doesn't matter. They still beat Aston Villa. Yeah, there you go. And Villa had the COVID outbreak, didn't they, Steve? Which basically meant, I think, 7 under 23 players played, and was it 4 from the under 18s. Are you surprised with the scoreline that it was so low, given Villa's personnel or lack of?
No, I'm not, because I saw Aston Villa's attempt at trying to play against the seniors at Fleetwood in the Checker trade, and I knew they didn't have much. But you presume at Villa Park, in front of the world audience on the telly, against these world stars, they'll have found some extra effort and organisation initially. But where the world stars didn't get double figures, when I say that, I mean, obviously, with Salah and Mane both playing, both scoring, not getting double figures as they could have done. I think what happens often, you expect a cricket score sometimes, but once the leading team get in front, stay in front, they tend to just make sure that they don't exert themselves too much. They don't sprint too much. They enjoy keeping the ball for large spells of possession, which they did do. And they have some fun with the football instead of hurting the opposition. And like I said, they're almost taking it as a training session towards their next fixture. So I don't think once Liverpool got 2 goals in front, then 3, then 4, that there was that willingness and that whisper around the team, come on, let's get 10 here. I don't think that was their intention. I think it was just to get to full time through the tie, having loads of possession and having no injuries.
Do you know what? Now you say that, I'm so surprised that the media didn't laud Jurgen Klopp for taking it easy on the kids. You know, kind of like how Germany against Brazil, people were saying, well, it could have been 10, it could have been 11, but they felt sorry for him. So, yeah,
It also buries the myth that he's creating about how the overload, the workload that his team face, unfair kickoff times, unfair scheduling of the games, whether it be for TV, travel or whatever, because he had a perfect opportunity there to rest his best players and he didn't. So he can no longer use that one at the, next time he loses or draws, that the schedule's too tough, because he could have easily had Salah and Mane in particular sat down on that evening. But actually, I'm glad that he didn't, because you want to see the best players in the world playing all the time.
I agree, mate. And Rod, massive learning curve for these kids for Villa, obviously. I think Delaney took the team, didn't he? He was a pretty decent fullback during his day anyway. Massive learning curve though, yeah?
Yeah, when you look at the size and you look at Liverpool, and they were surprisingly really, really strong. And then you kind of felt for the Villa players, especially when they scored early. But 4-1, it's not a bad result with in hindsight with the players they had out and how strong Liverpool's squad was. But yeah, it was a tough night for him. And there's some that they'll take on and they'll learn from us. You can only learn from stuff like that, and you just hope as a coach that the players take it on board and like I say, learn from it.
Okay, fair enough. Theo, let's talk about your team, Chelsea, then. Absolutely destroyed Morecambe 4-0. I'm pretty sure we all predicted Chelsea were going to win that one. 4 different goal scorers, Mason Mount being one of them, who I don't really rate that highly, but obviously Frank Lampard does, and he knows better than I do. Timo Werner scored, which obviously helps his confidence, as does Kai Havertz, who got on the score sheet, and Hudson-Odoi. I wouldn't ask if it's an underwhelming victory, because I guess you kind of expected Chelsea to win, but I take it you're not a big fan of Lampard's at the moment.
If I'm honest, I'm probably one of the people that when obviously the start, when he took the job on, definitely was backing him. He should, based on what he did at Derby, I think he shouldn't have got the job. If I'm honest, I think the job that he's got now is a massive step up from what he had at Derby. He didn't even win the playoffs at Derby. You've got to remember that as well. They played well that season, but they didn't get promoted off the back of that. So I think you got to look at that. I think if I'm honest, I think he's a bit out of his depth. I think he's, he got the job based on the fact that there was a transfer ban at Chelsea at the time. Obviously, there's, top managers, are they really going to take that job on? The transfer ban in place. There's a lot that I think Lampard had going for him at the time. Obviously, the ban, losing Hazard was a big loss, but he still was able to integrate some of the youth into the team as well. There was still some good players. There's still some good players there as well. So I think first season you let him off, let him have his honeymoon period, and let him gel into the team, get the team playing well. To still get Champions League as well, the back of last season. But this season it's just, it hasn't worked. They always that cliche of throwing money at the club. It's back again. I think 250 million. I think that's been spent. It's just something isn't clicking. Werner on the game. In the FA Cup, playing in a more central role seemed to work, but yeah, something isn't clicking. Havertz as well, something isn't clicking with him. There's always talk about Hudson-Odoi. Does he really want to be there? Does he want to go abroad? Does he want to play elsewhere as well? So I think Lampard, for me personally, should have taken a different route before taking this job on. It's a big step up for him. He's got, obviously he's going to get tons of offers from other places as well before he should have took the Chelsea job on. Bournemouth for me was probably at the time more of a suitable job for him. But, you know, he's decided to take the Chelsea job on, so he's in deep waters. He's got to find himself out of it now.
No, you're right. But listen, Morecambe with Derek Adams as their head coach, very experienced, kind of expected him to defend against this Chelsea side and get men behind the ball. But you guys were unstoppable on the day, weren't you?
Yeah, 100%. And I think it shows, you know, some of those players needed that game. And I think before the game, there was a lot of Chelsea fans saying, you know, why is he putting out a squad that, you know, you could rest some of these players, but a lot of them, even Werner, you know, needed that confidence boost. He needed that goal. Havertz as well, to an extent. Mason Mount, who, like you know, I don't really rate him, but I think, you know, he has spouts of good football. You know, he plays really well, and then he just dips off, and I think he gets away because of the goals that he does score, keeps him sort of active in the team. But I think, yeah, you know, I think it was an easy game. It was always going to be an easy game, you know, whether what team we put out. Obviously, the blip at the start with Kepa was a bit worrying as well. But yeah, it was an easy game. I'm sure there'll be tougher opponents. However long we're in the cup for, there's going to be tougher opponents that we come against.
Absolutely, mate. And Rod, with regards to Frank Lampard, it's almost as if you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, because if they'd have lost the game, the pressure would have been even higher than it was before. And now that they've won the game, it's like, well, they should have won anyway. So he's kind of in a lose-lose situation, really, isn't he?
It's always the same with the situation with that when it comes along, you know. 9 times out of 10, you know, no matter what team Chelsea put out, they should win. But we see it year after year. You know, the upsets, it happens. If they come, I don't know what it is, but we've seen it. You know, we've seen it since I was a kid, and it'll carry on that way because players come in, they haven't played, they're not used to playing together, and then you've got a lower league side that have played every week, are used to playing together, got the wind in the sails, and you know, pitches. Things that level it up as well. There's some things that level it up as well. Like I'm watching Stockport and West Ham, even though West Ham just scored now. It looks really, really heavy, and you know, it's leveled it up for the lower teams against the higher teams. So, but yeah, Chelsea, we've seen it before when teams bring a lot of players in. We've seen Fulham do it when they got relegated. They bring a load of players in. It's difficult to get these players. You know, especially when they're not Premier League ready, they're not Premier League experienced. You know, Kavat, the German lad, what's his name? Vernon.
Werner.
Werner. These players, you know, even though they're good players in Germany, they're still not, you know, still not Premier League ready. They haven't played in the Premier League. It's totally different in the Junior League. So, you know, they have to gamble as well, and it's big money that they spend on these players. So, you know, he's under pressure, so, you know, it seems to be with Oscar doing well. The pressure seems to be off him now. The papers are off him, the media off him. They've got to turn to someone, and it looks like Frank's in the firing line. So he needs to get results, and he needs to get them quick, especially in the league, because they're falling behind.
Yeah, that's right, mate. And Steve, another win from Manchester City, especially after beating Man United midweek. 3-0 victory over Birmingham City. Strong side Guardiola put out. Similar to what you're saying about Jurgen Klopp not being able to make any excuses for players getting tired and whatnot, he pretty much put out a strong side against.
Well, he learnt his lesson. We presume he gets this genius tag. I think he's lost the title of best head coach in the world because it's gone to Klopp. Certainly by nominations for trophies, Klopp's won it, I think, 2 years running. Hopefully, he's got a little bit of fire back in his belly, which people think that he's lost, but hopefully he's learned from one of his first mistakes he made at Manchester City was completely play an understrength team at Old Trafford, which helped Jose Mourinho and Manchester United win the game, and for Jose Mourinho to go on and win his first trophy. Now, almost from that game, whether he's told, you can't imagine too many people that he would listen to. He was very much his own man, but City have played at Oxford United, City have played at Burton Albion. They've played almost full-strength teams against those League One and League Two teams. But they did that night at Old Trafford. So, you know, whilst they didn't get a good night that night a few years ago, City take every cup competition strong since. So I wasn't surprised to see such a good team. I'm so pleased that Phil Foden obviously gets mentioned when anyone talks about Manchester City. When's he going to get a proper goal? He's nearly on 100 games, but he literally scores and he's man of the match almost every single game he plays, and he can play 6 positions. So hopefully he'll get a continued run in the team. But for me, the highlight, as we've discussed on your show before, was we were just wondering what had happened to Bernardo Silva. Now, I'm not going to suggest that you play against Manchester City v Birmingham City every week to get your confidence and get your goals. But most importantly to me, he looked like he's got a spring back in his step. He just looked like he's got his legs back. And I think City have kicked in with De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva in particular, certainly benefiting from a bit of rotation, a slow start to the season, but worrying for everybody else in the Premier League. Them two look like they've got the legs back.
Yeah, and Theo, you're nodding there when Bernardo Silva's name was mentioned. I take it you rate him highly as well.
Yeah, I thought he took both goals well. I mean, obviously the first one was brilliant. You know, there's not many players that can probably pull that off. You know, it looked easy, but you know, especially the height that he is as well. And I think for the second goal, you know, the build-up play was amazing. I think Mahrez from outside, you know, outside the foot to Kevin De Bruyne, and then it was just brilliant bit of football. Build-up play was brilliant, and like you say, Foden as well. You know, I think that was his 7th goal this season, was it? I think in all comps. So you know, he's done well. And yeah, like you say, they're sort of peaking at the right time of the season as well.
Right. And Rod, United 1-0 victory over Watford. McTominay being the captain, scoring the winner on the 4th or 5th minute, I believe. And believe it or not, don't know whether someone was listening to us at Man United, but Eric Bailly went off with a suspected neck or head injury, and they just took him off. They didn't even risk it. So back to our discussion on head injuries weeks ago. Take a player off, take them off straight away.
Yeah, it was the right decision when he was looking at it. He looked a bit groggy, didn't know where he was. You know, he took it upon himself to take off, and it was the right decision. You know, he obviously just passed him, you know, concussion, so they passed him for the next game. So, yeah, in the end, in hindsight, it was the right decision. And, you know, when it comes to your head, you know, in recent of late, people dying of dementia and, you know, heading the ball from, you know, there's evidence there that it's through heading the ball. So yeah, it was the right decision.
And what about the game itself? Because it wasn't a classic FA Cup match, was it? It was a bit dire, a bit drab.
That's what I was saying about before. So when you get players that have come in that have not been playing every week, and probably the best player on the pitch was McTominay, and he's probably been playing the most out of everyone on United side. So, you know, Watford were great for United. You know, just all it is about getting into the next round. You know, Stel will tell you it's cup competition. It doesn't matter how you play, just get in the next round and see who we get. And then obviously we've got Liverpool at home, so it's a big game.
Were you surprised to see Lingard in the starting lineup?
No, because it's a chance to give him 90 minutes. You know, against a championship side. So, you know, obviously he needs minutes. We've just been told that he's staying for another year. So yeah, he's had a tough few months of late in his private life. So yeah, he's probably done it good to get a few minutes on his belt. He didn't look happy coming off, but you know, he probably wanted to stay the full 90. But you know, you want that from all your players that you take off.
Oh, I agree, mate. And Theo, as I mentioned, McTominay got the winner, Scotland international. You guys have got Gilmore, who I guess those two will probably be the ideal long-term pairing. What do you make of McTominay? Because a lot of people are on the fence about him, especially on social media. They got one group of supporters that calling McSauce and giving all sorts of nicknames. But then you got other people that say he's got no ability, he's shit, he's this, he's that. I don't know what people want from a footballer. For me, he's an 8 out of 10 player week in, week out.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think, you know, he's one of those players that he just gets the job done. He doesn't do anything really fancy on the ball, or, you know, he's, you know, even on the game at the weekend, you know, he took the goal well. You know, I think he was running away from goal, still got enough power on the shot, you know, to get it in, directed towards goal. So, you know, he looks the part. You know, for me, I agree. You know, 8 out of 10 sort of player. You know, he likes to get stuck in, which you don't really complain unless obviously he's injuring another player intentionally, which he doesn't. So, you know, he gives you that. He gives you what you need in the middle of the park, you know, and that's what you want from a player like McTominay. You know, I think he's a brilliant player. You know, I think he's what United need in the middle of the pitch.
There are a lot of footballers who people criticise because they're not flair footballers, they're not creative footballers, and they do the basics but very well. I mean, Jordan Henderson is probably the prime example on this occasion. I don't think he's a superb footballer, but he does what he's asked to do. He does a job, and without him, you could tell Liverpool suffer. And I think United are coming to the point now where Matic is at the tail end of his career. Fred, for me, doesn't seem to be the same player when McTominay isn't in the team. So it would appear that McTominay is probably going to be the long-term central midfielder at Man United. I can't see Pogba being there forever. I can't see Fernandes being there forever. So I get the feeling that McTominay is going to be the one that's going to outlast them all.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. I think he's, you know, you kind of saw the leadership side of him at the weekend. And yeah, you know, I just think he's an all-round sort of midfielder that you need in the middle of the park. You know, he's, like I said, you know, he played really well at the weekend, and I'm sure he's glad that he got a goal as well.
Yeah, that's right, mate. Steve, you know which game we're going to talk about now?
I hope so.
Chorley 3, Leeds United 0. 7 changes for Bielsa. And I think it's quite poetic that a few days prior to the game, I saw a Leeds United fan reply to a tweet about Mick McCarthy being sacked from his job in Cyprus. And this Leeds United fan was saying, oh, the standard of Cypriot football is rubbish. Cypriot footballers are shit. And here we go. A Cypriot footballer gives Chorley the lead against them. Well, how poetic. There you go. So first of all, Tarula's goal was brilliant. And this is a footballer who we've heard a few things about in the past, having that car accident, being released at Spurs, not making it at Brentford, but then ending up at Crawley, and a goal like that in the FA Cup. You know, that's him set for life in terms of his name and his notoriety, so to speak, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I love the 360 movement with the ball under pressure from a sliding tackle for him to work the opening in the first place. I talk about Foden, Bernardo Silva, Iniesta, the best players. They quickly do a 360, and obviously every teammate is available in that moment because they turn a full circle. A lot of players, and I think Pogba's one, straight lines, right angles, but the top players are 360 degrees players, and he did that skill to work the opening under a bit of pressure. Then he shifted it, and then he scored across the keeper. So it was absolutely brilliant for him. The second goal scorer is a lad that I've worked with for the last 2 years. He's got Premier League pace, and I think he was completely underestimated. He's got League Two ability. And I'm being fair, you would admit the same, because he used to actually play Sunday League before he came to Fleetwood, Ashley Nadesan, but he's got Premier League pace, and it just looked like, you know, really you just have to close the channel against him just to simply stop him running. And Leeds never did that. They left the channel wide open, and if you give him his eyes wide open, his legs galloping, he'll run through any space and won't be caught. And he got the second goal, and all of a sudden Crawley then scored, obviously, with the centre-half Tunnicliffe, and they could have scored from a set play, which you obviously pick up on every week, which is Leeds' weakness. So when you've got a Crawley centre-half saying, yeah, we wanted to get as many corners as we could because we knew that Leeds United have got a set play weakness, it's obviously a slant on Leeds United, or possibly credit to your show if they watch it, because you've been saying that for weeks. And, you know, the first goal scored by your man was the highlight, and obviously set them on the way. But in the end, the lads added to it, and it was a really, really comfortable victory for Crawley. So I give them all the credit. But I have to say, other than the handshake that Bielsa gave Yems, the manager, at the end, which was complete respect and full of courtesy, I thought tactically Leeds didn't show the cup tie any respect at all with the selection and how they tried to win the game. I thought they were actually a joke.
Well, this is it. We've seen a lot of teams make numerous changes, and I can't fault Bielsa for making 7 changes, given games coming thick and fast in the Premier League. But when you're going to ground like Crawley, that's the first thing I'm going to say. And I know some Leeds fans are going to say, well, we played in the Championship and we played at similar stadiums with similar pitches. I don't think there are similar pitches in the Championship compared to Crawley. from what I've seen anyway. So that excuse has gone out of the way. They've played a striker who they signed for a club record fee in the summer, if I'm not mistaken. Casilla, the goalkeeper, who should never ever play for the club again, was playing. You know, you're talking about a team that's, you know, 62 places below them in the league, and they haven't taken them serious at all. I get it; it's happened in the past. We've seen it on numerous occasions. I remember Wrexham beating Arsenal, and I think Arsenal were the champions, and Wrexham were 2 places above the relegation zone, if I'm not mistaken, back in '91. So these things happen. But Arsenal had the full team out that day, and on this occasion, Leeds decided to make all the changes. They took off the 2 best defenders in the second half, at half time, and no surprise, defensively they were shambolic, even more of shambles.
I think Rhodri will, you know, qualify this better than me, because he's played basically centre forward as well as on the wing, but he can play centre forward. I can only imagine what this must have felt like for Leeds. They didn't really have a recognised centre forward without Bamford, but they played Calvin Phillips in the back line, right of a back 3, and he just seemed hell-bent to show everybody that he could hit 70-yard passes to the left wing to Poveda. Now, they had width both sides, which made the pitch enormous for everybody, and they were pinging the ball on diagonals 60 and 70 yards. Now, obviously, that takes a hell of a lot of time in flight to get to its destination, and using Poveda for an example, he then had to bring the ball down out of the sky, and his touch never let him down because he's a great young player. Then he would try a touch, try and shift the defender once he got it through his legs. So he's taking 4 or 5 touches. But in the meantime, Stel, Chorley are getting 10 players back in to defend their own penalty area. Whilst there's a 70-yard ball, it comes down out of the sky. He's having a little fiddle with it. Chorley get 10 shirts in the box. It's 10v2 in the box while you're waiting for a cross. Now, like I say, Rhodri would tell you better. But, you know, simple maths tells you a Leeds touch, if a cross comes in at all, is not going to happen because there's that many red shirts in there because it took so long to get the ball wide and then in and then be outnumbered. Leeds never laid a glove on Chorley using that tactic, and then they tried it the other side, and I think they just had 1 volley across into a pat penalty area. So Chorley always had numbers defending the box. They were comfortable doing it. They scored great goals, and you do not give Ashley Maddison a head start in any type of running race. And it felt like Leeds might as well have just said, go and sprint into that channel and go and get yourself a goal, get your name across the headlines. And that's what happened, and the cup tie's gone.
Steve, at the risk of being absolutely slammed by Leeds United fans on social media, I distinctly remember Gary Neville saying when United beat Leeds 6-2, he said, you have to outrun Leeds, and you'll beat them. I think Frank Lampard said that as well.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Now, but judging from what I saw the highlights, and as you said, Chorley did a lot of running. They did a lot of running. So are we to say that Chorley's stamina levels are just as good as Leeds United, if not better?
Over course and distance over a period of games, no, Stel, Leeds United would, I think, absolutely obliterate the data compared to Chorley. But on the day, the adrenaline can keep it level. Then you get a goal to protect. Then you get another, and then it's the game of your life. And all of a sudden, you're running as hard and as fast and more as Leeds because you're on telly. You'd never played in this level before. It's going to be. Could have been. That come to that in a set, Rob, because I was so disappointed with that. But I think the adrenaline and the 1-2, then the 3-goal cushion that they had probably just kept the running levels up. But I thought it was a brilliant. I don't do the Twitter, as you know, but I thought it was absolutely brilliant from Chris Sutton, who's not shy of an opinion, who suggested that what a brilliant day for Chorley, but what a shame for all the players who played 91 minutes. That 3 minutes of Mark Wright to come on the pitch and not touch the ball is likely to get all the headlines. And it's not quite true because we've certainly spread the Chorley good news around. But I thought him coming on and then coming on Twitter the next day, that Mark Wright saying, just to show you that anything is possible and all this, never give up and all this crap. He never touched the ball. It was a complete farce, but nothing to take away from the Chorley staff and the players who put the miles in.
I'll tell you a funny story about Mark Wright. Years ago, we were invited to the Haven House Children's Hospice charity match between a Celebrity 11 and a Tottenham veterans team. So Sheringham was playing and all these other players. And Mark Wright actually hit a 25-yard free kick into the top corner. So he's got a good left foot on him, but no, he wouldn't have done that.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt he's got a good left foot. We've seen it on the soccer A games. He's not got a League Two left foot, and he's not got a League Two brain, and that's without me even seeing him play properly.
Oh, he hasn't got a bad missus, so he's got a brain, I guess. So.
Yeah, he's not a League Two one, but he's got. Oh yeah, he can put the lottery on. Yeah, you know, it's what
League Two footballer, Premier League misses. There you go.
And you know what? Do you know what? I have got the ump about it because I can ignore the fact that he came on and got 3 minutes and didn't touch the ball. And I think Chorley are doing a documentary, and if it brings some profile to their club, I can ignore it completely. And I'd actually say good luck to him. But when you wake up to his own social media saying just to let everybody know anything is possible, he didn't touch the ball, mate. So it doesn't count.
Rod, Bielsa, sorry. What are you laughing at?
No, nothing.
Look, Bielsa won the Olympics in 2004 as a head coach of Argentina. He won the Argentinian championship in the 90s with Vélez Sarsfield. He won the championship last season as Leeds United head coach. But he hasn't really won anything in between that time. Are we to say that he's one of those managers where he has to win something serious for people to take him serious, or are we still going to go with the line that he's influenced so many managers in the world that we should still give him his props regardless of what he wins?
Well, yes, he's influenced managers and top coaches praise him, but you've still got to give him credit for what he's done at Leeds United. You know, Leeds United haven't been in the Premier League for, 20 years? And he did it with a chance, and he should have done it really last year in the end. So you've got to give him credit for that. But, you know, this claim and no striker business in the FA Cup, you know, the only team I've ever seen do it is Barcelona or Manchester City, and Leeds United aren't Barcelona with the players there. They're definitely not Manchester City with the players they've got. So, you know, like Stel says, as a centre forward, as a winger, you'd be going crazy because it's just Groundhog Days. Just ping, 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 just bring, ping, ping. It's just, and you're just like doing doggies basically. So yeah, it's hard work, and you know, Leeds United haven't gone there with the right mentality. But the coach has given the wrong information, and they've been done over by a lower league team that was proper up for it.
Okay.
I agree.
Theo, do you have anything to say about Bielsa, my friend?
More so about Chorley. I think like you've both touched on it already. I think, you know, Chorley deserve a lot of credit. You know, a lot of the time when Leeds win, you know, they get the accolades, and you know, I think, you know, we have to credit Chorley because I think Leeds probably had about 70% plus of the ball, and for what Chorley had of it, you know, they made it worthwhile. They did what they needed to do with it. They got the ball, the counter attacked, and they scored. Especially for the first goal, especially, and then obviously for the set piece, which you've touched on already. But I think Bielsa does, you know, he's got to take, you know, give him some credit for what he's done so far. But at the same time, he's also got to take the flak when things like, you know, you get beat 3-0 by Chorley as well. So, you know, I think there's a bit of work to do there at Leeds. They've got to be careful that, you know, they like to press quite a bit, don't they? They like to try and get as many players up as much as they can. And, you know, that's going to work against one or two teams. But if the team susses you out early on in the game, you know, it can come back to haunt you as well.
Yeah, agreed, mate.
We've got to be careful with Leeds United, mate. You know, the praise is, you know, sometimes getting over the top. They were getting praised. They were getting battered off at Manchester United, and all the commentators were talking about the Leeds United. It was back when they're getting battered 4-0 or whatever the score it was, and they're talking, oh, how well they play, how well they work. They're getting drilled, and they've just been drilled off a lower league team. So, you know, that you can see it before with Leeds United. That can happen because they leave themselves open. But
Rod, they play football how it should be played.
They've not been in the bottom 7 yet. Wait till they're in that bottom 7 and they decide that a good point on the road and a 0-0 on the road might just be what they need to just help their tally to get down into the bottom 4. I know we've already discussed this. They're getting plaudits at the moment because they've earned the right. They've been great, being hit, miss or maybe, which has seen them in mid-table, but they're not going upwards. I only see them going downwards, in my opinion. And let's just see if they play that style of football. We're in the bottom 7.
That's right.
And the way they play, Stel, if it does come to it and they do get in the bottom half and they start getting into trouble, the way they're playing, later on in later on in the league, these players might get tired and fatigued and hanging on, and it's a lot of work to do. So hopefully for them, they don't drop. I don't think they will, but if it does, it's a real worry because they haven't got a massive squad, and the amount of energy they put in every game, it's impossible to do it every single game at that intensity. So, when it gets to the latter stages of the season, and just playing, going to Burnley, West Ham away, teams like this, they have to get results, and as difficult place to go.
Yeah, that's right. Well, who shall we induct in the Hall of Shame now? Shall we talk about Derby County losing to Chorley? I think Wayne Rooney's got the head coach role there now. Theo, another guy with minimal or zero experience as a head coach getting a top job, because Derby are a big club.
Yeah, and I think, again, going back sort of what the Lampard conversation earlier, they were probably destined to try and push on again. But yeah, Rooney taking a job just based off his football career, again, it's a very dodgy thing to do, because what are you basing it on? Are we basing it on just because he's a good footballer, he's won all these trophies, etc., or are we basing it on the fact that there's something that we haven't seen from him when he's been somewhere else and coached or whatever, and what are we basing it on? So I think it was obviously a difficult game for them because they fielded quite a younger team, didn't they? They didn't really have the team that they wanted out there. But nevertheless, there's still, from what I've seen of the game, it was going to go one way or the other anyway. I think they had a lot of the ball. And yeah, Chorley deserved it. We've got to give them credit as well. Again, I said on, I think Saturday morning to you or Friday, there's going to be some shocks, and although they fielded a weaker team, they just didn't look up for it anyway. But again, that's what you do. You talk about some of these lower league teams, they're going to be up for these competitions. They're going to want to go out there and say, listen, as we can do this, because they want to go progress as much as they can in the FA Cup, and the FA Cup is still a big cup, so the teams that are in it still want to actually win it, So I think, would COVID have changed things if they could field a better team? We don't know. They would have gave it a better go, I'm sure of that. But got to give Chorley the props. They've done well.
Yeah, that's right.
I think what you're seeing against Chorley, Stel, it's highlighted how weak these academies are, because they got bullied, absolutely bullied. And these are under 23 players, and they're playing. Chorley aren't. All right, what are they? Conference North.
Conference North. They were second from bottom like a month ago. They've rallied to get to mid-table of the Conference North.
So Conference North, and they're absolutely bullying a championship side. And Derby County is a massive club. All right, there wasn't any recognised names for Derby, but still, you'd think they'd give a better account themselves than they did. They absolutely got bullied, and like Theo says, Chorley were well worthy winners.
Yeah, I spot on from Rhodri that. Word for word, I was thinking exactly the same. It's so snowflakey, not everywhere, but in the main. Why should Derby County's 18, 19, up to 23-year-olds not be able to cope against Chorley? The left back from Chorley that I know, he's 19. The best player on the ball, Newby, he was about 5'6". These aren't big strapping men, that work out in the gym every day, that have played 500 league games and all of a sudden dropped into the Conference North to keep playing football. These are only young men themselves, and it just shows you, the commentators were saying, they've done so well to cope, Derby County, against the physicality of Chorley. Chorley are part-time Conference North and we're a young team themselves. Rhodri absolutely nailed that then. I totally agree. And Derby County have got the opportunity to train every single day. They should be able to run away from these men if that's the case. They train every single day. They've got gymnasiums to go to. They've got swimming pool at Derby County's training ground. They've got the best medical facilities. if they can't handle it physically, then they should dynamically be able to run away from them, stay out of trouble, and beat them for speed. But there was absolutely none of it on show.
No, you're right, mate. You're right. They overran them in every department, didn't they?
Embarrassing. Yeah. Embarrassing.
Speaking of embarrassing,
I was waiting for Derby to like, what's going on here? What are they gonna? But it was just for 90 minutes, just constant Chorley's pressure, Chorley. It was you've got to give credit to Chorley. They played really well and played for strength. They did, like I say, they bullied him, absolutely bullied him.
Yeah, agreed. Speaking of embarrassments, Rod, West Brom lost on penalties to Blackpool. the Big Sam theory. Oh well, yeah. So he's come out and said that he needs new blood in January. I think they brought Snodgrass, from what I understand. 5 games without a win since he took over, and 2 goals conceded against Blackpool. I know they lost on penalties, but it's not a good sign, is it?
No, not really. But what to expect? I don't think Slaven Bilic was doing that bad. They make a change. They bring in Samuel Rice. Usually gets the teams out of the mire, but it looks like it's the wins against him here, and he's going to struggle because they just don't look good enough, to be quite honest. I haven't watched the full Blackpool game, but the highlights, you'd expect them to beat a Blackpool team, no matter what team they put out, and for Blackpool to come back like they did, and then take them to extra time, and then to obviously win on penalties. It's a good result for them, but I couldn't care less. The way they treated Darren Moore, the way they treated Slaven Bilic, they deserve to go down this West Brom side. The way they treat the coaches when they're actually coaching, they're doing well for them, and they give them the sack. I hope they go down. So I hope they boing down.
Well, Slaven Bilic has got a job in China now, believe it or not.
There you go. Cha-ching.
Exactly. Theo, Arsenal, another win in the FA Cup. This could be number 15 for them this season, couldn't it? I mean, they've got a decent squad, I believe. I think Arteta's slowly turning things round. But yeah, Emil Smith-Rowe, another player who we spoke about last show, the show before, had another good performance for the Arsenal.
Yeah, it was a good performance. I thought they played well, and like we've just mentioned before, I thought Arteta really needed to turn things around at Arsenal. I think he's done that now. I think he's been able to get the best out of the team that he's got. For me, I've said it on Twitter, I've said it everywhere. For me, I'd still be playing Ozil. That's just my opinion. I think he's too good of a player not to have in that team. They didn't really need him, obviously against Newcastle, but for me, is a player that you need. You need to play him. If you're not playing him, you need to get him off the books. I know it's not as easy as that, but but in terms of the game itself, Newcastle were just not not of the races, were they? It sort of just sums them up a bit. A brilliant performance by Arsenal, and they've turned things around at Arsenal. They've done well to do that because a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about, is Arteta going to get sacked? And you look at the teams that are still in the cup now, and obviously they've done the draw this evening for the 4th and 5th rounds, but I'm not even sure who's got who. But Arsenal good in the cup. They've got the history there of winning the cup, so who knows?
What do you think Arteta has done different to change his fortunes? Because we were talking a few weeks ago and saying, they've got Everton, they've got Brighton, they've got this team, they've got that team, and we're thinking, God, is he going to make it? But Rod and I, and even Steve, were saying at the beginning of the season, give this guy a chance because he'll turn this team around. And the thing is, what you'll find with that club, or should I say that fan base, is very divided. On the one side, you got fans that want Arteta to stay, give him a go, give him the opportunity because, what's the point in chopping and changing managers? But then you got another toxic fan base where they just complain about everything. Arsenal could be top of the league, 20 points clear with 5 games to go, and they will always find a reason to have a dig or whatever. I don't know whether it's just for clicks or views or whatever, but again, Arteta is in a similar position to Lampard where he can't win, can he?
No, he can't win, and I think the reason that they've turned it around is because, they've just been churning out the results. I think they lost obviously to City in the cup, but apart from that, I think they've been churning out results. They beat West Brom, obviously. Arsenal beat Chelsea as well. So I think those kind of games, once you get a sort of run of games under your feet, you kind of kick on from, or some teams kick on from there, and just keep running with it. But I think the difference with Arteta is the dynamics are slightly different for him. He hasn't spent 200 and whatever million, as opposed to Lampard or Chelsea hierarchy, whoever you want to decide who's spending the money there. But the difference is he hasn't spent that sort of money. Obviously, they brought in Pepe, but I think that was probably before Arteta's time. I can't remember, but
it was under the other guy. Yeah,
he was under Emre. So I think even so, they've still and Nicolas Partey, they brought him as well, but I can still see Arsenal doing what they always do. They've done it for the last couple of seasons where they just get the top 4 spot. They kick on the back end of the season and try and push on. But, they're a team that, for me, I still find the fan base, and without insulting any of the fan base, but I still find that, they are very divided. It's either the roll in or the roll out. They don't want to give it time. They just want that, constant victory. And football is
now.
Exactly. And football, it doesn't work like that. You're going to have your ups and downs, and I think Arteta deserves a lot more time. I do think, again, he's still out of his depth though. I don't think we can't single Lampard out for the same thing that Arteta's in the same boat for. So they're both very inexperienced managers at very sort of top clubs, in England. So that with the rough comes the smooth, and the smooth comes with the rough as well.
That's right, mate. Absolutely. Steve, I can't believe I'm going to say this. Sheffield United won.
Yeah, I fancied them. Well, I looked at the fixture and I thought if there was going to be one football team that go full strength out of the Premier League in the Cup, it's this team that haven't won for so long. They know what League One is all about. The manager, the staff, and at least half of the team have come from there. Or certainly, had the trade there. And I just thought, you sometimes need to play a striker. I do believe that Chelsea played Timo Werner in this game where he'd have normally been rested just to see if he could get some rhythm, get a goal, and he did. Well, I think Sheffield United played the whole team just to almost break the spell that feels like it must be cast over them just to get a victory. Whilst it could have been more, the scoreline was kept narrow pretty much throughout, and they were obviously hanging on a little bit at the end. But Burke hit the post. They were very, very senior compared to Bristol Rovers, and I was delighted that they took the competition seriously. I'm delighted that the players put in their maximum effort to win, and I'm delighted that they actually got a victory. I was pleased for them. I thought it was done right.
Absolutely, and I think I know why Rod is feeling a bit down at the moment. First of all, Bamford didn't play for Leeds, hence the little striker comment earlier, and Newport lost to Brighton on penalties, mate. But they were quite unfortunate, to be fair. They got a 94th and 95th minute equaliser, and they almost had a chance to win it in extra time.
Yeah, it was a look in the end, to score, to concede a goal in the 90th minute, then to get one in the 95th or 96th, whatever it was, and then to get the penalties. Yeah, he's done well there, so he's doing a good job at Newport. They're high up in the league. They've had a few good FA Cup runs. Just this year wasn't to be.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I don't think there's any other games we should really talk about. Anyone want to discuss Palace losing to Wolves or anything else? No?
No, took care of itself, that one.
There you go. All right,
What about Tottenham and Marine won yesterday?
Oh, yeah, the 5-0. Yeah, Tottenham played a weakened team. I'll get weakened. I use that term loosely. Doherty played, Ali played, Vinicius played. We're going to lose that word.
Two scouters there with a glass of champagne. Who are they kidding?
Jesus Christ. Oh, God.
Who are they kidding?
Stop it.
They've got the champagne crystal glass on. They get the second laugh. Hey, who are they kidding? Every shot, it's like someone with a champagne glass. What's going on here?
Was that the highlight of the game?
Yeah. Yeah. No, the highlight of the game was the guy with the cardboard cutout of Jurgen Klopp. That there like that was arm round him.
I don't know. I don't know what to say.
No, I've been played Marine, and I'm pretty sure Stes has been there as well. It's a dump. It's a proper old school non-league, dump.
Yeah, I can vouch for it. I used to live in Crosby, where it is, and obviously Crosby's all right area, but the ground itself is a bit of a
Crosby Southport area. It's beautiful, but the ground it's just a proper old school.
Yeah.
So
they were always an outstanding team, though. And I played against them for 10 years, and they won the league every year. And you'd go to that ground, you'd get beat up, you'd get outplayed, you'd get outscored, you'd lose, and you'd go home. And you'd watch them win the league. They were the best team. They were the best team.
Historically as well, they used to do well in the FA Cup as well.
They did, yeah, with Rhodri Howard, who was the longest-serving manager in football at the time. And they're a great club. Then obviously they drift, and you don't hear about them as much, and you take your eye off it because you follow, the big team. So it was great that they had their day yesterday. But I think the people who got the most respect yesterday was Tottenham Hotspur. It's sad that everybody's saying, "Oh, didn't they treat it correctly? Wasn't their attitude brilliant?" When we think, as supporters, that should be the norm. But at least Tottenham, to a man, were excellent. The manager said before the game, any Premier League defeat, I will take the blame for, but if they lose this today, it's on them, and the players know it. So we put a bit of pressure on the team to work hard and run hard and play well. I thought Tottenham were excellent, and the highlight for me was when Dele Alli fell over with no one near him in front of his teammates in the dugout. I thought it was brilliant. I looked at Son laughing his head off. Bale gave him a fake yellow card, but I actually liked that Dele Alli did the forward roll, and he was dying to laugh, but he had to get on with the game. I thought it was an excellent moment. Brilliant.
Fantastic. What I found was funny at full time when I saw Spurs put up a tweet saying, "Oh, because of COVID, the players couldn't swap shirts, so we sent them the full kits." I'm thinking he's basically just gone to the fucking shop to buy the kits. Why they want a full kit? Just give them the shirt and wash it, or wash the shirts and send it to them.
But didn't Tottenham buy a load of visual tickets to help Marine? With what they will have lost in gate receipts. Didn't Tottenham supporters almost
like 30,000 or something in total? I think.
Yeah.
That's where football gets a bad name at times, and football supporters. But that's where it's amazing. That's where it's amazing. And the suggestion, I think Marine could have pocketed between £250,000 and £300,000 for a game that had no attendance. I think it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
but it goes on a lot, that Steve, but it's not documented because it's good news, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it is, but then Tottenham gave Marine the perfect respect by hammering them basically. They could have messed around, they could have flicked and farted about, but no, they basically hammered them, and that's actually the best respect you can give them.
I've never heard that before, and I thought Mourinho was spot on what he said. What Stes said there, if we get beat in the Premier League, then it's on us. If you get beat here, it's on you. That just puts pressure on all them, and just think, right, they've got to go out and win. Nothing more, nothing less.
Rod, I'm no goalkeeper, but what did you think of the wall and the goalkeeper? He was like, he looked to me like he was in the middle of his goal, crouched down, just trying to get a look. I know there was a block in the wall as well, but I was waiting for more. I'm thinking he's going to score. It's just which top corner he puts it in. It was like a penalty kick.
Yeah, I think he was deflated, the goalkeeper, after the second goal, wasn't he?
I'm no goalkeeper, but I don't know if he's listening or watching or what. But aren't you supposed to let the wall look after one side and you look after the other? He looked like he was in the middle of it. It was like a free shot in either top corner.
He's had a week off, Sainsbury's. He's probably stacking shells back there now.
Absolutely, and there was a bin man they kept making reference to.
Bin man, yeah.
But no. Credit to Tottenham and Mourinho and that winner's mentality, which we should expect, but people are suggesting it's not always there, but it was definitely there for them yesterday.
Some non-league teams, like we just watched Stockport and West Ham, that looked like a proper game. Marine and Tottenham yesterday, it just didn't look right. They looked like Premier League players playing non-league players.
Sorry, Stel, to ask you all the question. I know you're the question man normally, Stel, but
go ahead,
what was your opinion of the divided opinion of Dele Alli's performance and possibly his future. But how do you think he did in the game? I thought he did well. But what I heard today was what's happened to him. He's gone from the World Cup semi-final to being substituted at Marine. He was hardly dragged off. He was the best player on the pitch for an hour.
No, because Dele Alli comes with a big social media following, and he's one of the lads, isn't he? We saw in the documentary how he jokes around, and it kind of, for some reason, people give him a bad rep. And okay, he might have a few off the field issues that we don't know about. Maybe he doesn't want to discuss them. Hasn't he been unlucky with injuries, as far as I'm aware, since he's been at Spurs? He's had untold amount of injuries, hasn't he? So
I think him and Jesse Lingard are kind of like the same. They've had off-field problems, plus they've had social media or other engagements which they detract them from football. So I think it's a combination of things for both of them. But from where they were, like I said, they were both in the semi-final World Cup, playing well for England, and now they can't even get in their own team. So I think they just need to concentrate on football, both of them, because they're both still quality players. And maybe a change. I don't think a change would be good enough for Dele Alli. I don't think a change would be good enough for Lingard. But they need to start performing and changing their attitude, especially Dele Alli, because Mourinho won't put up with it. And if he wants to stay there, he needs to sort his attitude, like I said, or he won't be there.
Well, he's 24 years old now, isn't he, Dele Alli? So he's still relatively young. But with Pochettino going to Paris Saint-Germain, who knows? I don't know. He liked Dele Alli, didn't he?
Yeah, there's talk of him going on loan, isn't there? I think as well to PSG. But I think yesterday proved that he's still got the quality about him. I don't think you obviously don't just switch that on and off. I thought he pulled the strings yesterday. I know it was obviously Marine, different level of football for the Spurs players. But
for his confidence, though, it'll be good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think for his confidence, I thought, it's a Jose thing to do, isn't it? To hook someone off who's playing well, just to prove a point to an extent. I think, I would have kept him on, in my opinion. I thought he deserved it. I think he needed to get minutes under his belt. I don't know how many games he's played in the Premiership, but it can only be a handful. But yeah, I think it'd be a shame to Tottenham if they lose him. Even on loan, I think they'll miss him. I think I know he's not playing at the moment. He's not getting into the team, but one or two injuries, you'd be looking, where's Dele Alli, and he's in PSG's line up somewhere, or somewhere else on loan.
Well, they've got Europa League as well to contend with. They've got the Carling Cup final, the Carabao Cup final. There's loads of games coming on top of that. I think Harry Winks is slowly falling out of favour with Jose Mourinho, I think. And maybe this is where Dele Alli comes in and takes that opportunity. It's down to him now. As you mentioned, he had a really good game against Marine. Doesn't matter who he played against, he still had to put in a performance. If he put in a shit performance, then they'll be like, well, he's not bothered. So he's put in a good performance. He's stated his claim for the first team, and let's see what happens from there, I guess.
I hope so.
It's down to him, isn't it? He's got the quality, he's got the platform. He's just got to get down to him and knuckle down and perform and prove Jose Mourinho that he should be in the team. That's all he's got to do.
But Rod, we've seen loads of players over the years going 1 or 2 years without reaching top form, but then they get a run in the first team and they.
No, I know, but you can see with Dele Alli, he's got quality, and like you say, he's only 24. He can't play that well, then have a dip and just never reach that height again at the age of 24. You can see the quality, even like Theo said, even though it was Marine, you can see the quality he's got, and he can do that against anyone. So you just got to knuckle down and work hard and get inside. And when you get in the side, everyone's been through it. Football, if you get left out, you can either bitch and moan or pull up, do it Robbie Savage and kick the ball and throw his at the tram and say you want to leave and throw in a chance for successful, knuckle down and get yourself back in the team. I'd choose the latter, but it's a modern day football. You don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah. What we've seen with Ravel Morrison, I hate using that example all the time because Ravel still a fantastic talent. I saw him play for the Jamaican national team a couple of months ago, and he was running the show. And he's in Holland at the moment, I think, with Den Haag.
He got released yesterday, Stel.
He got released there?
Yesterday.
Really?
Yeah. Contract terminated.
Unbelievable. Terminated as well. So it's not as if
done.
They let him run. Yeah. So
done.
His attitude, mate, he's never going to change. It's just he's not a kid anymore. And he's 26, 27, 28. He's a man now. And it's no coincidence that he goes from club to club to club to club. You know, I've seen the kids in first hand, you know, walking round. He's not a full ticket.
Right, very quickly, lads. FA Cup draw. Obviously, the tie of the round is going to be Liverpool against Man United, but Wickham play Tottenham, so that's another good draw for them, especially given if Tottenham decide to do what they did with Marine. Bit of money there. Southampton or Shrewsbury against Arsenal. I'm pretty sure Southampton will get through that. You'd think anyway. So possibly Southampton Arsenal will be a good tie. Looking at the other games, Fulham Burnley. That's another tasty one. Everton Sheffield Wednesday. See, if that was at Hillsborough, I'd be very interested in watching that one. Brentford Leicester will be a good game as well. Two teams that like to play football, and Brentford gave a good account of themselves the other day, didn't they, Steve?
Yeah, they did. They're excellent. Their model is working for them at the moment. Buying young players from the lower divisions. Tony is in their team, bought from Peterborough. Watkins has come through and gone playing for Aston Villa. They've hit the jackpot in development, actually, scrapping their academy. What it has done, though, Stel, it's made other clubs think that they can do the same, and they've made a pig's ear of it, and they've ruined their whole youth setup, their whole youth department. But Brentford can only look after themselves in that B model that they've got. And like I say, investing in talent and then making them better for the team and then selling them on. They've had a great 2-year window cycle, whatever you want to call it. And the team are always very open and attacking and good to watch.
And I think they've reduced the amount of members of their scouting team, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and they're using statistics more. So players that run a certain amount, short passes, long passes, so they use more statistics when it comes to scouting.
Yeah, brilliant. As long as they don't say that when they've lost 2-0 that they should have won 4-2 because the XG said it, because I can't buy that. I don't mind, recruitment data to back up what your eye is telling you. But equally, I will always be happy to use data should I be given the opportunity. But what my eye tells me, and then go and trust trusted friends who know them better than me and find out the lowdown on performance and character, will always go before data for me.
Well, Matthew Benham's done a fantastic job there, hasn't he? You know, with the whole infrastructure of the club. I think they've got a link with Midtjylland of Denmark.
Yeah, and they've done the same. Yeah.
So they're a very good team. We saw them in the Champions League. Okay, they didn't do too well against Liverpool, but over the years they've done well. Any other games? Chelsea, Luton. There you go. That's a blast from the past. I remember Chelsea playing Luton in the '94 semi-final there, Theo.
Yeah, been interesting.
Kerry Dixon at Luton, if I'm not mistaken.
Be an interesting game. I think I'm just looking at the draw now, and be an interesting game. I think good that it's at home at Stamford Bridge, obviously, but it doesn't really make any odds with.
They wouldn't have liked it at Kenilworth Road, would they?
No, but I think obviously if it was packed, then definitely not. But with no fans being there, it doesn't really make no odds. Where it's played. I think that'd be a good game. I think obviously if Southampton get past Shrewsbury, I think Southampton Arsenal, I think that'd be a good game as well. I think two good Premiership teams sort of hitting a bit of form. You mentioned before, the United Liverpool game. I think that's the juicy one, isn't it, for the next round?
Yeah, and it's the
tail of... See they've drawn the next round, and who's West Ham? I think it's
West Ham or Doncaster play United and Liverpool, yeah.
All right, yeah. So Stockport would have got through. They would have had West United and Liverpool. Still, it's behind. They still have to beat Doncaster, wouldn't they?
That's right. And it's the battle of the beaches as well. Brighton against Blackpool. Get your factor 50 out, Rod. There you go. Right, that's it, gentlemen. Theo, thank you for joining us, mate. Really appreciate it. Before I let you go, anything you'd like to promote, Twitter handle, that kind of stuff, Insta?
Yeah, so just Twitter's at T.Dot_producer. Obviously go and check my music out. It's all on there. There's a link in the Twitter as well. So, just thanks for having me as well. Obviously been a pleasure as well, just to touch in with you guys as well.
Likewise, mate. We'll have you back on again sometime soon, Geezer.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it.
Steve?
Just thanks for having me as usual. Stel, keep loving the game. Be glad to see the Premiership back on. Now the FA Cup has finished tonight with West Ham going through, and the next round of games, albeit United are at Burnley, aren't they? Is that tomorrow night?
I believe so, yes.
Look forward to that one.
So, yeah.
Thanks for having me, mate.
No, my pleasure. Rod and Caesar. He's made an appearance again.
Kept him quiet for fucking.
You're not going to give him the snip?
What?
You're not going to give him the snip?
Nah.
No?
I think I'm like me, ain't I? Rod James Giggs.
Excellent. We're on Twitter at Shoot the Fence. And for everyone that's still listening, thank you for your support. It's been absolutely fantastic. And fingers crossed, 2021 will be an even better year than 2020. So until next time, adios, everyone in Chile.